Hello, Hometown. My name is Ben Rogers. I am a junior partner at Hometown Realty and the team leader of the Rogers Long Team, and I'm excited to present to you building and sorting your database for our Plus One program. Today's date is January 30th, 2024, and I'm actually going to use a PowerPoint presentation that I gave in June of 2014. So it's almost a decade old, which is pretty amazing. I've been in the business that long already. So it just feels like yesterday, but a lot of these fundamentals still remain the same. It's still the way that I prefer to work and the way that my team as a whole works. A lot of the things that I'm discussing today are really derived from Buffini and Company, so I do want to give credit where credit is due. Some of these, certainly some lessons I pulled from him, but a lot of the words are my own. And you can obviously put your twist on a lot of the stuff. The foundation remains the same. So let's start with this question. And I'm going to go off this PowerPoint slide, so we'll minimize that. All right, here we go. Let's start with this question. Why work by referral? Well, quite simple. I want quality leads. When you work with maybe leads that you get on Zillow or any other kind of e-leads or ones that are not referred to you by a trusted source, typically they don't tend to be as quality or as much in quality. I want to work with people that trust me. When we're seeking any service, we are all looking for someone that comes highly recommended. Imagine you land in a New York City or somewhere that you're not used to, and you get in the cab, and almost always one of the first questions that you ask is, where should we go to eat? There's a trusted source there, right? The idea is that we want to become the trusted source for anyone moving into our area or making a move within our area, all right? Working by referral is relational, with the other side of the spectrum being transaction. We sincerely believe that relationships are more important than transactions. We're looking for quality over quantity. You'll hear me say this in a little bit, but it's not necessarily what you know, and it's not even who you know. It's what you know about who you know. My goal with every transaction is to earn more referrals, right? I devote myself to serving the needs of my clients before, during, and after each sale, okay? A great dialogue that Buffini and Company likes to use is this. While other realtors spend their time cold calling, door knocking, and doing other activities we refer to as prospecting, I keep my head down working hard for my clients. My goal with every transaction is to create advocates out of my clients, all right? So what is a database? Most people will say, well, it's a list of contact information and a list of names. And we'll talk about CRMs here in a little bit where you can house these databases. But the most important definition of a database is that it's a list of relationships. All right. A database is an unpaid sales force working for you. I don't pay my past clients to refer me. I don't pay my friends and family and other acquaintances to refer me. They're an unpaid sales force. And of course, we have to motivate them. All right. An effective database is properly qualified and sorted. Qualified and sorted. Let's talk about the difference between those two. Qualify, when we qualify someone for our database, a list of relationships that we're going to market our services to and ask for referrals from, we want a yes or no answer to the following question. If you were buying or selling a house or knew someone that was, would I be the realtor that you refer them to? I'll say that again. This is the mayor campaign from Buffini. If you were buying or selling a house or knew someone that was, would I be the realtor that you refer them to? This prompts a yes or no answer from the person that you're talking to. Now, look, you might have a best friend whose mom's a realtor. They're probably going to answer no to that question, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you can't be friends with them. It doesn't mean that you can't hang out with them. It just means that they're probably not worth marketing your services to. All right. To sort your database, it's drawn up by the book with Buffini, A+, A, B, C, D, and there's all sorts of definitions from all of those. Here's the simplest way to describe it. A+ is refer you the most, A's the second most, B's the third most, C's the fourth most, and D's you should delete. These are folks that maybe you want to have the contact information for a few drip campaigns, but they're not folks that you're marketing to on a regular basis because you do not have the confidence that they will be referring you. All right. The simplest way to build your database from scratch is current clients and past clients. All right. Current clients will always be the folks that are the easiest to generate business from because they're currently seeing the way that you work. And as they appreciate it, they're going to go tell their friends about it. Here is the most common objection we get when talking about building your database with current and past clients. Well, I'm brand new. I don't have any past clients. Well, we should build our database around people that we trust and that trust us in return. Think of groups like family, friends, contacts you meet at open houses or events, maybe business associates or partners, different groups and associations, whether that's charity events you're part of, church groups you're a part of. My main man, Kevin, generates a lot of business from a softball team he played on 10 years ago. Just that's a group he was a part of and got them involved in his client appreciation program. A synonym, by the way, for database is COI, which stands for Center of Influence. Some folks call it a sphere of influence. We like to call it our CAP, or Client Appreciation Program. Quick story for you. My very first client, see, I have a little bit of an interesting situation in my career. My dad is a realtor. And so because of that, a lot of my family already has their real estate contact. And so I had to dive a little deeper when I first started. It took me a little while to get going. I closed my first deal just under 6 months in the business. I played football in college, and so I printed off the roster of everybody that I played with over 4 years, and I started calling them. And I asked if they wouldn't mind passing along the information for their parents so I could introduce myself as a real estate professional to them. That's how I got my very first client, believe it or not. And the way that I got my fourth client was a referral from her. Again, a key question we need to be asking on all of these conversations we're having early on is that if you were buying or selling a house or had a friend or family member that was, would I be the realtor that you refer them to? Our principal broker, Mike Chenault, always likes to say that if you don't ask, the answer is always no. Events. Okay. So as you build your client base, your database, as you build your client appreciation program, all right? And a simple way to get to know your folks better is through events, business mixers, socials, big client events, whatever it may be. The summer of my very first year of real estate, I was 22 years old, and I went to a bridal show in Richmond. And we set up a little, I don't know what you call it, but we set up the box that had a little certificate on top, and it said, enter for a chance to win, a $50 gift card to Hondo's or whatever it was. And I just had open house cards, and I introduced myself as a realtor. I think I got about maybe 30 people to actually fill it out with their name and number. I got a referral. The person that wrote their name on there didn't end up being the lady that we ended up selling a house to. The person that she referred me to was someone in 2012 that referred me 4 times before he ultimately used me as his realtor in 2014 to move his family, and to this day remains an A-plus client in my database. He's no longer just a contact, and his family are not just names and numbers on a screen for me. It's a relationship that we have with their family, and I'm their trusted source for all things real estate. Business to business relationships. I'm a big believer in networking groups, whether that's 212, BNI, what have you. I think Brian Buffini says that in his heyday, 40% of his business or his referrals generated were actually from his business to business contacts. For me, that percentage was actually a little bit more. By 2017, 5 years in the business, over 50% of my referrals were generated from my networking group. With that, we're able to give as we receive, therefore making us the source of the source for all things when it comes to services from small business that your clients may need. All right. How to work your database. This is the big 3 from Buffini: calls, notes, and pop buys. We're going to dive a little bit into each one. And then obviously there are plenty of other really great, effective ways to work your database. I think Coach Larry is going to give you a little debrief on breaking bread. But for today, we're going to stick to calls, notes, and pop buys. The easiest and least expensive way to generate leads is by calling your database. Doesn't cost you any money to call people. The most powerful way to deepen a relationship is to send a personal handwritten note. Key point here on notes. Notes anchor a relationship down. I don't necessarily look as a handwritten note as a lead generation activity. I look at that as anchoring a relationship. And of course, popping by clients from referral sources to show that you care. Let's talk about calls. There is never a bad time to call your COI. Now, we could get extreme and say that you probably shouldn't call them at 11 o'clock at night or 4 a.m. in the morning. But in the end, you're calling people that you know. When your clients or your friends or the folks in your database, those relationships see you calling, they recognize your name. People want to hear from you. Never, ever miss an opportunity to ask for a referral. We should be mayor campaigning our folks constantly. And there are other ways to ask this that aren't as offensive or aren't as direct. Okay. One of my favorite things to say to folks was that, do me a favor today if you don't mind. Tell one of your coworkers that you have a good friend and a motivated worker in the real estate business. A friend in the real estate business. I also like to just check in and see if there's anything I can do to help. Remember that we can refer business too, especially when we have a sub database of business relationships. All right. Reasons to call: birthdays, holidays, anniversaries, saw something cool happen on Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is. These are great ways just to reach out, make contact, and talk to folks. Inevitably, they're going to ask you how the real estate market is doing. One of the key points to work in your database is showing immediate appreciation. All right. If you get an inbound call and they say, so-and-so referred you, the first thing I do is grab a Post-it note, write down the person's name, and right after I hang up the phone, I call them and tell them thank you. All right. We are going to immediately appreciate any referrals that are sent to us. Notes. All right. There's so many different times to write a personal handwritten note. Remember, when you're writing notes, we're doing it for a reason. It's a follow-up. It's an anchor. Maybe after a check-in call, we met a seller at a listing appointment for the first time, or we had lunch with a friend or a past client. I've always found that a good practice to make it a goal for the number of notes you're going to write for the week. Because we have to write those for a reason. If I wrote 25 notes last week, that means that I did 25 productive things last week to generate business, whether that's showing immediate appreciation, whether that's calling just to say thank you or happy birthday. A follow-up note always helps to anchor that relationship. Pop buys. The easiest way to get referrals right away. It gets you face-to-face with your clients. You can ask them live and in person for business, and you can show them how much you appreciate them by being there on their doorstep or in their office. It's always a good idea to plan your pop buys, have a theme. Every month you can come up with a theme, especially, today's January 30th. February is Valentine's Day. March, we have St. Patrick's Day. Then, of course, in May and June, Mother's Day, Father's Day. Then we have the holiday season. There's all sorts of ways to pop by, and pop buys do not have to be expensive. Some folks go for quality over quantity in pop buys, where they do maybe 50 at a time. Some folks like to do one a day, maybe 3 a week, and bring something a little bit nicer to their folks. All right. Couple of easy tips for pop buys after you start working a few real estate transactions. If you close the deal today, January 30th, make a note in your calendar for July 30th. That's 6 months. Go pop by with a picture frame of the sold picture of your clients in front of their house. It'll cost you maybe $5 and a little bit of time just to say thank you and remind the clients how great of an experience it was to work with you as their realtor. Turning your database into income, we have to remember this, guys. It's a contact sport. Real estate is a numbers game. We cannot be afraid that we're bothering people. The second you've convinced yourself that you're bothering people is a second that hesitation causes us to start coming up with excuses to why people don't want to hear from us. Remember, the people in your database are relationships of yours. They want to hear from you. It is critical when you're working your database to track your numbers. If you don't track, you don't know what's working and what's not. We don't want to judge our week by the number of sales, but instead our lead generation activities. Other businesses like to call these KPIs or key performance indicators. In real estate, or the way that we're working by referral, We're talking about database additions, the number of calls we make when we ask for a referral, the number of notes we write, the face-to-face appointments we get, all those kinds of things. But we need to be able to track our numbers so we know which lead generation activities work best for us. I mentioned this earlier. It's not what you know. It's not who you know. It's what you know about who. All right. Of course, we want all the basic information, names, address, obviously being a realtor, phone number, email, their job, their children's names, right? It's good to be connected with them on Facebook or any other social media outlets. Hobbies, their favorite sports team, favorite restaurant, their birthday, their closing anniversary dates. All of these things we need to have in our database because it's not just a list of contact information. It is a list of relationships. If you want to work relationally and not transactionally, it is important that we make the commitment to do it. Choice in life, in my opinion, I'm not sure if you agree, choice is greater than money. The money's a byproduct. It will follow. When we work relationally, we tend to have more choice. Here's a simple way to get started having more choice in building your database. Grab a pen and a paper. Turn your favorite song on and start writing down people's names that you know. What do you know about them? Who do they know? Who are they connected with? How did you meet them? Do you trust them? Do they trust you? And as we go through it, we're going to make a couple of calls and we're going to mayor campaign. If you or anyone you know are interested in buying or selling a home, would I be the realtor that you refer them to? The answer is yes. You get to explain to them our client appreciation program. If the answer is no, well, thanks. I really appreciate it. If you don't mind me asking, which realtor would you refer? If they have an answer to that, say, that's great. I'm glad that you have a trusted source in the real estate business. And then, of course, as we build our database, and this is a continual process, this never stops, we need to make sure we're marketing ourselves. We're not selling products. We're not really selling houses. We're selling ourselves and the service that we provide. Remember, be the source of the source. And when you commit to building your database, we'll be able to work relationally and have more choice. I hope you guys enjoyed this today. If you guys have any questions, you can reach out to me directly. 804-512-0438 is my cell phone number. I appreciate y'all very much. Go home, Dale.